Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Bushy roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breathtaking experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website at ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
Diwli lanni maro lanni
fop lanni
awa jodi mi anda honno gerde ten e ngaldo sabu e ngaldo Ibrahima jonnal taw joni mi anda se yahay kapitiki nyawlo den ha humpondire makko est ce qu'on non e warude
waden no awa
ane ko de Ibrahima mo ko to woni
mo Amerique
ko Amerique a woni kare humpitaki fi be musibe men baluwo be andanda kala ko wawda wonde aduna si arrivi e juude mabbe a jonna do dépassement Gambia har no weedi aya ta kadi taw ko mbudi din no jawi walla no jippi be halanta ma ko kala ko falda ko reese sengo nyamete ili nebba maro basal pomme de terre kala ko rewi don a hendo to har no weedi kadi wona dum non tu be abe jonnira mobile phone siko dum kadi laptop kala ko wayrode di ay kasbawa be wawma jonnute kadi sa wala umpitade ko wedi etti Google account ma joni data ton wada download app mabbe on ayay kala ko humpi may mabbe ton be webi yama
ka wonda woy aduna on
kala ko wawda
a jonna nay wondo kaleji men Gambia do dépense
harano webi yama si dun no fono nebi immo den joni mi do tama ka place mabbe jan
waden joni
ya heba ko fala
waden kisam
Libetara dula kenda nini naye Oyo tara bila
Oh, ini barang ni bah.
okay.
Welcome.
Basically, lot of lala me along is cool, man, that I can really relax.
Oda madam.
Yeah,
Oda madam. Madam doesn't mind.
That's right. Grand Villa. Nilafta na dula na munantara Grand Villa.
Grand Villa.
That's fine.
Sorry. Yes.
No. Yeah, actually, a lot of people are basically me along is very relaxed. So the two is kind of autonomy is very relaxed.
We have a mission. Media. Nena Grand Villa. It's the best guest house in the Gambia.
Beji and the Grand Villa Guest House. Na labungol bebe senyaring adum na bungol bebe nyarandiring kono ibe lafira ila suwe taranyame. Ntel Grand Villa na kiliano na lafino wana mukamutin telkam. Na ya sabati Grand Villa yala kodo na fa kalamuta.
Hani mamola nyantel tiji yakunde. Grand Villa said us one day. Yeah. Grand Villa.
Oh man, this is like a paradise. I know.
I said I love this place.
Trust me, I love this place. You come in somebody and watching what? Watching them and you to come down. Grand Villa.
I tell you. I love this place. I love this place, man. Oh yeah.
Ni liftan na kuwa keso sotola. Futama Oljuntum Paradise Estate. By Commando K 7527-218. Wale futan na website auto www.grandvillaguesthouse.com. Grand Villa Guest House.
leen def ñoo ñëw ak yéen rek Skin Care Plus nar a jàkkaarloo ak yéen waxtaan ak yéen tuuti rek si suñu cuub suñu baax emuñ rek ci ay diw waaye comme ni ngeen ko xamee rek dañoo yëngu ci ay cuub te yënguñ nag si just any cuub suñ cuub bu nekk 5 star jas na la 5 star jas na mooy jas na bi gën a pire moom la ñoo cuub palmaan bi gën a fort moom la ñoo liggéeyee buñ demee Bamako ñun duñ dem ci marché bi rek buub indi déedéet dañ leen a jox suñu specs ne la nii lañ ko bëggee nay lañ ko bëggee fóot bi nangami fóot lañ bëgga pour mu mun a set waaw cuubi Skin Care déedéet doo ko sol mu di la taxa all over the place ci gàttal ñun rek si cuub dara du doy day des not only dañoo cuub but bu la neexee ñu cuubal la ba pare nag ñawal la ñaw fi mu gën a setee nag rek la ñoo fëlee ñetti ñawkat lañ am nañ ñawkat yi simple nga xam ne xoppati rek mbaa def sa taille basse def sa dagit def sa roba amul benn dawme am nañ koo xam ne moo ñoo dawme jigéen dan am nañ tamit special ñawkat boo xam ne ñawi góor rek la ñoo defal nga bugg a sa his and hers muy korité muy tabaski mbaa muy ngénte muy takka mbaa nga bugg a rek def sa yëkka bu baax a baax daagul ba ñëw Skin Care Plus ñu dimbali la tànnal la cuub fa mu gën a baaxee ndax sa yëkka gën a foor lii nga ne lan xol bi di takka la Skin Care fii la fa léegi yéen tey we're not all about skin we are Skin Care and the plus does come in so many different ways. Cubantuwuñ de dañ cub dem saf-saf
Hello and welcome to the brunch on Kerfatu. I'm Lamin Cham. My usual panelist is of course Mustafa Dabo, and today we are privileged and honored to have Dr. Ousman Gajigo back in the studio for us to go through the major events and news of the week. And among them, of course, is the still raging diplomatic passport scandal that has engulfed people around the presidency, so to speak. We'll also talk about the recent updates on the performance of the economy from the central bank and the never-ending issue of the incarceration, at least by remand, that is, of rapper Killer A's and 36 others. Welcome, gentlemen, to the program.
Thank you.
Now, last week, of course, the week began with ferocious accusations and explanations from the police about their investigations into what is now well-known diplomatic passport scandal that we know so far have engulfed the State House driver involved, and many others are said to have been called and questioned, including protocol officers from the office of the president. Let me begin by asking you, Dr. Gajigo, when you first had this and the explanation given by the police, the list of the people that the police published to be questioning them, what comes to your mind?
Basically, I mean, you don't have any system in place because there should be a procedure in place for issuing ordinary passport, much more, I mean, diplomatic passports. This should be a controlled process. So to me, if people are being arrested and held responsible, I am very surprised that you only have a very low-level people. I mean, let's think about this situation for a second. Why do we even have the president's former driver, which I don't know if he's his current driver, but let's say it's his former driver.
He claims he's still in the service of State House as a driver, chief driver, even though the State House media team said, well, they didn't say they sack him, but they said he's not been driving the president since November last year.
It doesn't matter if he's driving the president, as long as he's, the fact that he's an employee at the State House, and somehow he has the power to procure a passport for somebody.
Said he escorted somebody to the right channel, that's what he said.
If we're talking about, taking somebody to the passport office, nobody's going to get arrested for that.
Yes.
In other words, this guy somehow has the power to directly issue or command people to issue passport. Now, let's think about that for a second. In other words, we have a system in place in the country where somebody, just because of their close association with the president, or either they, when they are saying they have orders from the very top, is able to go and order around our immigration officers or the people who issue this passport and say, issue passport to such and such individual. So that means basically you don't have a system in place, you don't have procedures. What was happening on the Jammeh in terms of whatever the big man at the State House orders must happen is the same procedure we have in place. Whether or not this guy was, directly, of course, if the president had directed him to do this, that would be bad enough. But it doesn't matter, even if there is no evidence the president did. The fact that he feels confident enough to do that, the fact that the people in the administration that issues his passport, feel that they had no choice but to follow an order, no matter how inappropriate, no matter how illegal, no matter how it goes against every standard governance practice, shows that we have a government right now that really is following the same system as Jammeh.
Could it be that there are, of course, laid down systems, rules and regulations to acquire these things, but people just, without authority from the appropriate authorities, just jump and do things on their own, and they are now just been discovered?
Well, what you are saying right now is putting the best spin on things. Let's, for argument's sake, let me grant that something like that has happened. That itself would be a huge indictment. In other words, after 3 years in power, they have not even have a semblance of a structure in place which enables people to just go and operate freely and do freelance work when there should be normal bureaucratic procedures to be followed.
Now let's take the driver's claims. The driver, of course, we should say that the police are still investigating this. But what the driver has given us so far is the most detail as to what happened when they were called. What the line of question of the police. He's the only one who gave us an idea. He said when he was called and he was being asked, how did he come by? How did this man, a man whose passport was seized, how did he come by? Who claimed that he was the one who led him to the to the Ministry of Finance, Minister of Foreign Affairs. But the driver said the man had gone back to the Mofa and came now with a diplomatic passport. Even though he was the one who took him there, that's where he stopped. But the man went on his own and acquired this passport. And he's been asked now to tell how that man acquired the passport. So you should look at it. And also he said, protocol officers from State House were called in his presence by the police and asked, how do signatures coming from State House, from you people from State House, appending to these passports? And they said, according to the driver, the protocol officers alleged that their signatures were being forged by protocol officers from Mofa. So it looks like now there's a lot of cock and bull stories, if you like, coming from both sides. So there's something must be brewing. Something has happened. The police are not themselves. We must be clear. Are only given pieces about it. They are not bringing all the information. They are not giving out until when they are ready or when they are pressurized to do so.
Let me just say, I have no hope that this thing will be resolved to the last detail. Number one, because if you dig these things, the trail would lead all the way to very powerful people. Already there is a letter circulating which shows our Attorney General.
We will come to that. We will come to that.
No, okay, we can come to that first. But in other words, first of all, I have no confidence. There hasn't been any reform in our security sector. Let's note that, first of all. And police are a huge part of our security sector reform.
And immigration.
And immigration. So the fact that no reform has taken place, despite all these endless and useless meetings, it means that asking this current police to investigate this matter that might involve powerful people is basically like asking the police under Jammeh to investigate the government, where the trails might lead to him.
Okay. Now let's leave this with the driver. Mustafa, from what you have heard from the police, the list of the people they interviewed, and the details that the State House driver said they might be looking for, are you sure that the police actually will come clean or will even take actions where somebody powerful has been caught in their net?
Well, I think to ask that is to ask, did the police have they acted in similar situations? How did they act in similar situations in the past? Currently, you have
but this is New Gambia, so
yeah, it's New Gambia.
We can assume that the police will not. There will be no sacred cows.
Well, you have several cases. You have the cases of a lot of people who were asked by the Justice Minister to be charged, and they're not still charged. Right. One of them is Hassan Jallo. He's still a permanent secretary. Another one of them is Seth Drame. He's still working at GAI.
You're following this fertilizer scandal up to now. What about OJ? Did they say OJ should be charged?
They didn't say it should be charged. But I'm just giving you an example of people
who's supposed to be charged, they are not charged.
And you have the police commissioner daring to say on Facebook that it's his discretion to charge people.
So that means...
so that tells you the kind of... that tells you as long as you have political connection in this country, there is nothing wrong with you.
I see. If you have the right political connection.
You have Soul Baji in Jammeh's State House, who is not the Chief of Defense Staff, but he was authorizing the Chief of Defense Staff to do X, Y, and Z. So here you just... Why would you have someone who is not in any way educated in politics or in economics or in anything, be appointed and have so much powers and be called an advisor to the president? Why would such person advise the president? So that's the system where I think this country needs to start being serious. Otherwise,
let's stick to the diplomatic passport scandal. So now, what do you make out of this?
Look, the point is there are procedures to access diplomatic passport. And that procedure doesn't involve a security official. I'm saying a messenger. That procedure doesn't involve a driver. That procedure doesn't involve a low-level protocol officer. That process involves the president writing a letter or giving an instruction for X, Y, and Z to be given this, or the permanent secretary making that request and approved at the level of the presidency, and it's taken to the immigration for processing. This is simple. So you cannot just come to me and tell me, I think that's where journalists are failed.
So any other way?
If you are doing a story and someone says, Mustafa K. Dabo has gone to withdraw $50,000 of Gambian Press Union money, the first question a journalist should ask is, does Mustafa have access to Gambia Press Union money? Can he even withdraw it? That's the question you should ask. Now, if someone comes to tell you a driver at the office of the president has given a diplomatic passport to someone, there are two sides to this story. One, is it a fake passport, diplomatic passport? Because if it is a fake, it means you are somewhere making a fake document. But this is not, the story is not it is fake. No. The story is, the passport is given to unauthorized persons. Yeah. That's the story. Yeah. Now, if that is the story, a journalist should tell us who in the Gambia can even grant an approval for someone to have diplomatic passport.
All there's only the president.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Now, why are we even talking about a driver?
Yeah.
Then?
No, listen, listen carefully.
Because this is clear.
Okay, I know what you are talking about. You are saying that.
We just beating about the bush.
Since it is the president who's the only authority who can approve
the president, the permanent secretary, even the minister of foreign affairs is not involved in this. Okay. It's the permanent secretary.
Yeah, now you are saying that it's very clear.
It's very clear.
So with all these things, I mean, stops at the president because he's the one who approves.
It is clear who can hold our diplomatic passport, and it is clear who can authorize the approval of diplomatic.
The authority is the president,
and that is not a driver.
So the driver didn't say he approved it.
No, because
to be fair with the driver, the driver said he escorted
somebody
to go to Mofa. Let's assume that that's where the processing starts.
That's where the process obviously starts.
That's what
the permanent secretary.
That's what the driver said he did.
Yes.
He said he stopped there.
Yes.
Now he didn't know anything about the case until when the man was caught with a diplomatic passport, and the man claimed that he gave him money to help him to help him to get access to a Ministry of Foreign Affairs official. That's what the driver is claiming.
No, so let me.
Now, what happened? What makes the driver so important is that when he claimed this, State House attempted to be distancing themselves from whatever he is supposed to have done or not done. The very fact that he was invited by the police means, I mean, it's scandal for State House. They want to distance themselves from it.
Mr. Cham, can I ask? Yeah, my point I want to make is that it's asking. So, if it is not established that the driver is forging this document, and these are real Gambian diplomatic passport, the question is the process for doing this either doesn't exist or has completely broken down. This guy, the driver, is a little pawn in this game. Yeah.
He's even a distraction.
He's
a smoke. He's not the fire. We shouldn't even talk about him.
He's a decoy.
He's a decoy.
He's either working for somebody or he's just a little pawn, a little messenger person. But it doesn't matter.
State House just throw the guy away so that because this driver is just someone who can take the hit. So someone has to die for it, and State House just throws the driver.
Let's not discount the fact that there could be some forgery involved, because they said a Nigerian national.
Well, that's when it becomes a fake passport.
There's no xenophobia here. A Nigerian national called Michael was also involved, and he's alleged to have been helping in the forgery. So there could also be an angle of forgery. That's why I said the police didn't come with anything so far.
Except that some of the you see, Cham, let's focus on what is confirmed.
Yes, that's what.
Now, what is confirmed is that diplomatic passport, an accurate one, has indeed
been given
to unauthorized persons. That is confirmed.
That is what this Ibrahim, what is his name again? Ibrahim, whatever, whom the police said these people are acting to help.
Yes, so the problem is, you know the procedures that one takes to get these passports.
Yeah.
And those procedures can be abused, we know, because someone in the system told me just day before yesterday that sometimes the president may come and tell you he may not have a written note, like by right it should be a written note. But if it's not a written note, Mustafa Kedabu is authorized, for instance, to have a diplomatic passport because of my position as, let's say, the Minister for Kerfatu. Okay. So I'm authorized, but the president didn't write. The president just gave a verbal instruction to the chief protocol officer to carry out the process, for instance. And the protocol officer could also have his own liberty at his own level to add 2 more names, because I didn't give him any written stuff.
So
someone told me the system sometimes can be abused when the president uses this kind of methods. But why would you even, as a responsible person, in a system that should be in black and white, so that we trace these things.
Right.
Because what they do at the highest office, you see a lot of people who come to Jana Commission and tell people, we've been giving instructions. But where is the written document to support your no written document? Because leaders and people corrupt people in high places, they do that to hide all traces.
To them. That will lead to them.
And also the thing is, let's talk about absence of control. Normally when things are happening, there should be a system there to see. For instance, in many countries, you don't issue passports to every single citizen. There's usually a proportion of the citizens that would have passport. Now, Gambia has a population of 2 million. Let's say issuance of passports go and reach a certain level, a certain percentage of population. There should be controls in place that will trigger some alarm. The same thing, the number of diplomats we need, the number of government officers who need to carry diplomatic passport, there should be an estimate and a number for that. Once the numbers start reaching a certain level, or certain individuals who hold certain official positions start getting these documents, then there should be a system there where alarms can be raised. But basically, it seems like we have a system where there is no procedure, a bureaucratic process, and there is no control to monitor things how they are going. In other words, anyone can be issued a diplomatic passport, any level of, any quantity can be reached. This is the real scandal. The question is this any different from what things were in the previous government? A driver will, no government office, no matter how badly run, will go and issue a diplomatic passport just because a driver comes and say issue it. The driver has to come with some instructions from somebody very important. So the driver is a little pawn here.
The driver is not even important. The driver is just... They're just sending us on a wild goose chase.
No,
that is why the driver is mentioned.
I think what makes the driver important is the reaction
of the driver to the story.
No, from the State House to the driver's involvement.
In that case,
that's what makes the driver
because
important.
someone has to go under the bus for it.
That's what I'm
saying.
saying.
And the driver, so for them, is just...
That's what makes the driver important. Because it could have been anybody else.
No, but that
it could have been a journalist who escorted this man to that.
Well, the driver is a victim of circumstance.
That's what I'm saying. It could have been a journalist who escorted this man to Mofa. It could have been, a teacher, who conveyed this. But the fact that the man is not an ordinary driver. He was driver of State House and was once driving even president. Yes. So there must be a reason why he was considered by this man seeking the passport to be influential. That somebody who can exert some influence at both Mofa and State House.
But he has no hand in the process. That's what we are saying.
That's what he claimed. He said he only stopped at introducing the two at the right and stayed away.
Okay, no, my point is... whether the driver even tells us that or not, the driver has no hand in the process. That's what the law tells us. So for us, we are satisfied with that.
Right. Now, what do you then make of the fact that the State House are saying they have nothing to do with the driver? It's not driving the big man now. What's been...
It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Whether or not he was driving him, is currently not driving him, it's not. The question is, the only way the driver would play a role in this is if you are telling us that the State House, in the way they have been so far, up to this point, the way they have been issuing this passport, they have had no system in such a way that anybody who has the minimum amount of association with the State House can assist somebody. It shouldn't matter. Even if you are more than a driver, even if you have a more senior person than a driver, you shouldn't have the power to issue or you shouldn't be able to play a significant role in having somebody get issued a diplomatic passport. So the fact that somebody at the level of a driver can even play a role in this means that they are already acknowledging there are failures in this.
That the system has been abused.
The system has been not only abused, the system is non-existent, it's broken. Because if the system is even barely functioning, to abuse it would require something far more than just a driver accompanying somebody.
All right, let's even take this little, I think we've started a discussion little in the middle or thereabout. Because if you look at it, why are we even talking about diplomatic passports today? It's because when this government came into power, one of the first things they did was to publish 270 names of people who are holding Gambia's diplomatic passports.
Okay.
Some of whom are unauthorized persons. You remember this list?
Of course, there was a list, and they asked
The
them
likes
to
of
return
Dr.
it.
Zakir Naik.
Even
The
president,
list goes on.
even ministers were asked to return.
That is what I am saying. Because some people holding the diplomatic passports at that material time were unauthorized holders of the passport.
All right. Now
we did this because the system was abused. Now we are abusing the same system. We will get a point where we need to have an established system. For instance, this is the setup of Kelfatu's studio. Cham comes and sets it up the way he wants it. I come and set it up the way I want it. It will be a mess. This country needs to establish certain standards.
They are there already.
By which every government should play.
They are there. So
but you come, give some supporter who is from the market a diplomatic passport, and I come, I take it from him. I also give it to some guy from the market. I mean, you see.
So in other words, it seems like basically this government, the only problem they had with the list from Jammeh is that they were not their people. They
were not there.
And so they are not aware of the fact that the process was broken. What they had a problem with was that the wrong individual, Jammeh gave it to the wrong individuals who support Jammeh.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what they had a problem with. Basically, that's what they are demonstrating to us.
Yeah.
All right. Now let's take a little break to check certain aspects about the Gambian diplomatic passport. A little research on an article carried on the Freedom tells us that Gambian diplomatic passport, or let's say what's a diplomatic passport, is a special type of passports that is issued to individuals who travel or work overseas in official government capacity. But the process of acquiring diplomatic varies from country to country. However, it is complex and a number of individual circumstances are reviewed before the decision to issue is made. It is said that here in the Gambia, occasionally diplomatic passports are used to protect the safety and private. No, okay, they're not just the Gambia. That's just another feature of diplomatic passport. But they're generally issued through a country's foreign ministry, and they are normally issued on application by the sponsoring government department to public officials who may be required to regularly perform official travels in line with their roles and responsibilities. Occasionally, the same privilege is accorded to the spouse of holders and their dependents where such is necessary. I mention this because like we're going to another area, which is the updates. We dealt with the official version, what we know already, isn't it, Mustafa? But what has been trending in the media is that this diplomatic passport thing has further dimensions, that more and more people believed or perceived to be ineligible to hold it are actually holding this, if the pictures and documents we are seeing online are anything to go by. First, Mr. Gajigo, you just said that you come across a communication, supposedly from Foreign Affairs to the Attorney Generals. And what did he say?
Well, basically, the diplomatic passports being issued to the Attorney General's spouse, kid, mother, and stepmother. Now, I can understand.
That is allegedly.
Allegedly, yes.
Correspondence.
A document has been leaked, and it looks like a legitimate, authentic document. Of course, you can understand the issue of a spouse, because officials can travel with their spouse, but I don't understand the issue of the child and the parents. Now, it may depend on the child's age. Suppose maybe the child is young or needs special assistance and has to be with the parent constantly. That's probably understandable. The spouse is understandable. But the part about the mother, the stepmother, and maybe some additional relatives, no. It shows that the breakdown of the system, the abuse in the system goes much deeper than just this issue of just the driver. It means that this breakdown, it extends to the highest level of the government. There is no system in place already, because what justification could there be for the stepmother of the minister?
In this letter, that's alleging to be a response from Mofa, telling the Attorney General about the approval of the application he made, allegedly for diplomatic passports to be issued to his spouse and relatives.
Exactly.
Mustafa, did you see this correspondence and did you even believe it is authentic?
Well, I believe it's authentic, but I don't know what the law says about a minister holding a diplomatic passport.
Well, here, I'm telling you a little bit of it. It says here that, it says these passports can be issued to public officials and or their spouses if necessary. So,
if necessary.
A spouse is not necessarily the mother or the stepmother.
Spouses, wife and kids.
And if you qualify it with if necessary, then
if necessary.
And there are other things.
That's where the problem comes in.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, there are some things where the law would not strictly forbid something. But government officials, you need to use a judgment and say, is something actually necessary? Because at some point, if it's not necessary and you take advantage just because it's not explicitly forbidden, that is abuse of position. In this particular case, even if there is no law that strictly forbids minister to recommend a relative to get a diplomatic passport, our chief law officer here, or the chief legal advisor to the government, the Attorney General, is failing morally in his role by abusing the system, because this is an abuse. Because unless he can come before the Gambian people and make a strong case as to why his, the kids and his in-laws, in fact, need this, why is it necessary for them to have, then he's abusing the system.
That is of course, whatever it's said, like said here, occasionally, this privilege of holding a diplomatic passport can be extended to the spouse of holders and their dependents where such is necessary. So despite this,
that's why I said, even though there is, it's likely that there is no explicit regulation or law prohibiting it. There are a lot of things the law doesn't prohibit strictly or explicitly. But we use our judgment, our discretion, especially as if you are in a senior government position, this becomes very important. Not exercising those discretion and judgment is an indictment of your own character. And this would be a perfect example of that.
Mr. Without knowing exactly what's the level or the scope or the nature of this allegation or this fraud, if this fraud is involved, or the nature of people unauthorizedly being given diplomatic passports, how can we determine who is involved in what and where will it end? It seems to be bouncing around the presidency from this driver allegedly
because it has to go through that place.
But that's the final approval. Yes.
So that is why everybody is talking about the presidency. That's the office that plays the most significant role in this process. It's the president. This is between the presidency and the foreign affairs.
And these are the foreign affairs, apart from the task press release they issued the last time to say 2 officials have been arrested and 1 on their own, they didn't say anything for that.
Yeah, but these ones, we're not talking about fake one. We're talking about the president issuing, allegedly issuing diplomatic passports to his supporters.
Now, that's another aspect we are coming to. Apart from the Attorney General, the letter that is purportedly from MOFA, informing the Attorney General about the approval of diplomatic passports for his spouse and relatives, allegedly. There are also issues like people in the Barrow movement, Barrow Youth Movement, or whatever you call them, or Youth for National Development, whose photos have in circulation in social media, allegedly, because, showing them holding passports, diplomatic passports.
Exactly.
So, going by the criteria as to people who might get Gambian passport here, do you think any of those people are anywhere near meeting the criteria?
Look, this is the same thing that we've all been campaigning against.
In the passport, they're supposed to be business executives.
No, the problem with this, is obvious. You can, giving enough time to these people, they can come up with all sort of justification and rationalization after the fact to tell you and I, why these officials of the Barrow Youth Movement need the diplomatic visa. But the truth of the matter is, if anyone is being honest, this is a broken down process where supporters of the president are being rewarded. These members of Barrow Youth Movement are not officials of the government. They are not official. In fact, right now, they have freedom to do many things. Our electoral laws that normally would bind and constrain political officers from doing many things are not being applied to this Baro Youth Movement because since it's not a registered political party, they are freelancing. They're effectively campaigning for the president when other political parties are hamstrung by rules from doing so. Yeah. So in addition to that advantage that they have, they are giving a lot of unofficial support from by the government. You know, there have been instances at the very beginning. Now there's less of this, where there was a Baro Youth Movement sign on a GG on a vehicle with a GG plate. That thing now they are becoming very careful about that, and that probably has been phased out because it's too blatant. But this is also this issue of them being issued diplomatic passport when they are not doing any official role for the government, when they are not government officials, when they have no need to have it.
But they are business executives. One should know the other.
Even if you are a business executive, once you take up that position in the Baro Youth Movement, now it becomes inappropriate for you to try to, have a privileged position which this diplomatic passport gives you. It's an abuse of power by the government, simple as that, and the person most directly responsible for it is the President of the Republic, Adam Barrow.
Mustafa, when you saw these diplomatic passports being circulated in the media, supposedly, of people belonging to people from Baro Youth Movement, former Speaker Fatou Jahum Basise, and this letter from supposedly from MOFA to the Attorney General's chambers, is it fair now to say that this whole passport scandal now is definitely bigger than we definitely have discovered so far?
Yeah, but it's also sad. I mean, that's the whole thing we're talking about. We're talking about the abuse of system, the abuse of a process we have been promised is going to be made better. Because when Gambian government came in, when they came in and they published these passports, they did so on the basis that they're going to make sure this national document is protected. It's not abused. It's not also in the wrong hands. How can anybody with conscience, anybody who deserves to even be a leader in a newsroom, lie about someone's status? If you are just some political support, how are you a business executive? You're even encouraging people to go and defraud others. How can that be a leader? How can that even be a president or a government? I mean, people should be serious about things. You know, I think the biggest problem of this country is that people are not usually serious about things. Because even something as simple as a diplomatic passport and who should hold a diplomatic, that's an easy thing. Someone comes to you, I'm sorry, sir, you're not authorized to hold a diplomatic passport. It's that simple. Well, you are the foreign ministry, you are a permanent secretary. You cannot even apply the law. And if they come to you and say, oh, this one comes from the office of the president, so what? Go back. You're not authorized to hold this passport. It's that simple. If you are fired, hold a press conference and tell the Gambian people, this is what I did, and that is why the president fired me. Simple.
Now, to sum up this passport issue, what do you expect now from the government, from the Attorney General, and maybe from this Baro Youth Movement as to this, and maybe Fatoumata Jahum Basise? Let's talk about that. It's been shown on social media that Fatoumata acquired diplomatic passport in June 2019, and there was a lot of hullabaloo in the social media about whether she's supposed to get it.
I have a question.
Is it not quite fair or quite reasonable that people who held positions such as Speaker of Parliament, etc., should continue to enjoy this privilege?
Well,
yes.
I have a question. When she got this thing in June, was this before or after she was?
The date is June 2019. And
yes. Was this before or after she was implicated in this case of witness tampering before the TRRC?
Oh,
I guess it's
June,
during
you
that
mean?
time, actually, because
That must have been thereabout.
Yeah.
Thereabout.
Yeah.
So that also tells you quite a bit. You have somebody at that very moment who was being embroiled in a criminal case, not even a civil case, because witness tampering is a criminal case. That's why they were arrested.
But didn't the court clear them from that?
Yeah, but we're saying...
The court cleared them, the charges were dropped.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they have nothing to answer. So that actually prevent them from getting, because at the time, the nature of the time is that either that made the process be on or already completed. Yes. Or the process was on.
I know the process, I don't think the process was completed at the time by June. I don't think it was completed.
Yes.
But it just tells you also how one can be issued that passport at the same time when they had a serious criminal case. Because the TRRC is a very important process nationally. And we had a very important witness who brought a very, very useful information that is central to bringing out the truth. And
well, actually, this case ended in April, so that means all this saga actually have complete or were all completed before the issue of the passport.
Yes, but you see, the issue we can differentiate two things: actual criminal conviction and proper behavior by somebody, especially somebody who wants a very senior position in the government. There can be a situation where maybe the government doesn't have sufficient evidence to prosecute you for a crime. It doesn't mean you are innocent of it. Because nobody claimed that what Kanye said, which he said under oath, nobody claimed that was wrong. Nobody claimed that he made it up. So they were not cleared in the sense that they were innocent of the charges. They were probably cleared in the sense that because the process that is required to take place, for instance, the government proving beyond reasonable doubt and mustering evidence to establish the case wasn't there.
That's what killed the case.
So that's different from saying the guy was, So at the same time, if we are going to put people in a privileged position, which is what a diplomatic position is, and that's what this diplomatic passport confers you this special privilege.
Yes.
Should Fatou Jahu Basise be this sort of individual, we should be conferring that privilege to somebody who tried to jeopardize an important national process like the TRRC. Think about that.
But shouldn't she get it because she was Speaker of National Assembly? Once a speaker, always a speaker.
And that absolves you of any moral responsibility afterwards?
You saying it's not morally correct to issue her with this, having had what she allegedly did with Kanye, the witness.
No, what I'm saying, the moral problem of tampering a witness, even though you were not convicted legally, that person already they've demonstrated their character.
She is not even on the list of the list that Jambe gave diplomatic passports to us at 2016.
She was not in the list?
No, I'm just checking the list.
So
it
means this must be the first.
Even when she was speaker, you want to say she wasn't passport?
Not necessarily, but because there is an expiry date here. But what I do know is I'm talking about 2015 to 2020.
Yeah.
She is not on that list.
But then apparently the pictures showed that the passport picture is that she got it in June and it's going to expire in 2020 something.
Yeah, but that's the problem. She got it very recently after all of these questionable behavior. In other words, behavior that should really remove her from any position of responsibility in this government, for any special status. This special status should be for people who deserve it. Somebody who tried to derail a very important national process, do you think they deserve to have such a special status? That's the question I'm posing.
All right.
It's a rhetorical question.
Exactly. So, here we go. What do you, from gentlemen, what do you guys expect that this government should do in the coming weeks, with regard to this?
Nothing.
Two questions. What should it do and what will it do?
Yes. What should it do?
What should it do?
Are they not getting daily enmeshed in this whole saga?
They know what they should do. They took the diplomatic passports from people who were holding them unauthorized. You were here when they did that. So they knew definitely that this passport is a protected national document, well cherished, that should not go into a hands. For me, I would even rather have it with a minister's son or minister's mother than some guy, some BYM. You serious? I mean, think about it.
The speaker of the government spokesman said the other day on West Coast that the president said, whether it's this or not, any person who is alleged or who's involved in violating the rules will not be spared. Do you think he will be very serious?
Let's see how it goes about.
You can talk. Let's see action, because I know if this thing is well investigated, the
It
most
will take us
prominent
back to the president.
the most prominent person, we wouldn't be talking about the driver. If the people who are responsible, you know, and they are held accountable, that you know, they take responsibility, we will know. It will not be restricted to some 2 officers at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and a driver. We will not be talking about those low-level people.
It takes us to the president.
It will go.
But the spokesman said, the president has said that anybody, whether it's this matter or not, any
Who is
matter
the spokesman?
He said it on radio that the president had said, whether it's this or not,
I can tell
nobody will be spared when it comes, when you have offended the law. So I mean, so we can believe that there will be drastic actions against people who might have been involved in this.
It's just sad. When
you can believe that if you choose so. I will believe it when I see it.
When I see it.
Yes.
It's so depressing. It makes me feel ashamed.
Well, that's what the president spokesman said. So we have to leave it there. But then we move on.
I think. Yes. I mean, you know, we'll be, you know, skipping something very important if we don't again.
Asha,
the basic. I think the basic lesson here is this.
Yes.
You can say a new government is coming in, but as long as the president, you surround yourself with the same key people under the previous government, and the same structures that were in that government still operate within your government. Just having a change at the very top means you get the same result, because the same things that normally happen. So the new government came in. They published a list of all of the people who, who wrongly held diplomatic passports, who shouldn't have. Now, you know, without unbeknownst to them or not, or knowingly to them, we have almost a similar number of people holding diplomatic passports. It doesn't matter if it's like the same number or 10% of it, but we have the same problem. That tells you something. It means that the same people that the president has around him at the highest level, the same structures we had under Jammeh are still here. Nothing has changed. So we shouldn't be surprised if the same results happen, which also means, by extension, any investigation into this saga will have the same futility as any investigation that takes place on the Jammeh regime when the target is the Jammeh government.
Wow.
So
what about if you are proved wrong by drastic actions?
I will come here and apologize.
Let me,
Doctor. Okay.
Of course, we are not afraid to apologize. I mean, if the president,
if you are proved wrong,
the courage enough to do.
If the president takes serious measures, we see that nobody's scared, no sacred cow.
Yeah, let me tell you that the president did actually said while he was actually
swearing in the ministers. He said what?
Yeah, the president said that you cannot
undermine.
No. You cannot actually do one thing. Applying the same methods and expect a different result.
Well, in summary,
so you can't be so the president had you. So he knew what you were talking about.
But unfortunately, is he aware that his government is doing that? Well, is he aware?
Well, I'm not sure, but I'm relaying the president's message to you.
So from your analysis, that sounds rather macabre, ironical, because you think that's exactly what's happening.
Well, that's what the president said. Whether this is president's word or somebody imposed it on him, I don't know.
All right, we still stay with the presidency and on a different topic, that is. But still ahead, of course, we'll have football. We talk about the Gambia's match against Angola yesterday and the other leg in Angola. And perhaps more importantly, the Nations Cup, WAFU Nations Cup in Dakar. We'll have a coach in the studio to talk about that. But let's still stay with the presidency. He announced, after a cabinet meeting last week, that a full report and a cabinet paper that will be made on the outcome of the Jammeh Commission will all be published and known. Is that not quite a commendable move?
On my
because
side,
is it not been transparent here now? Quite commendable move. So there will be no room to hide anything. Well, at least that's commendable.
No, why is that commendable? That's the least we expect. Did anyone had any expectation that the Jammeh Commission, when it is published, the results would, the publication would be secret? Did anyone have that expectation?
Well, there were
reports are supposed to be published.
No, but then there were skepticisms that from the way things are going, probably nothing will be done about this. We have
there were fears. There were fears that it may not. But what I'm saying,
and that fear is not still allayed.
Yes,
no, it's not allayed here.
No.
Let's wait.
When you and I know exactly what's been said about Solbaji, what's about
Moro, what the president said,
yes,
is that he's going to publish
it.
his white paper.
No, the full report and
the white paper.
Yes.
So before we...
So what?
So what?
The commission should be, that's what should happen.
But I'm saying that we are fears, rightly so, that this might not happen.
Let me give you another...
Especially when people were called
let me give you
to go and answer to the Attorney General. There were queries that why are you calling people to go and answer to you when the whole process investigating that was done in the public?
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
It's something you are supposed to do as a journalist.
Yeah.
If I were to have some brief doubt that you were going to do it, but at least you proved me wrong and did it anyway. But this is something you are supposed to do. Should there be a special congratulatory message from me that you did something you are supposed to do?
But what about if my opponents in the politics have already poisoned the opinion of the people that I will not do this, and I come to prove them wrong?
For me, I think it's a positive first step towards something.
Yeah.
But that's what we are talking about. It's towards something. It's not anything in itself to publish the report.
You have to do something about it.
Yeah. So what we will be waiting on is what the president does about the thing.
What the white paper said should be done about.
Yeah. That's what.
But we had a little bit of understanding as to what the Janneh Commission was driving at. The Attorney General dropped a hint saying that the former president allegedly stole billions of people and his associates. And they've already started a process seizing the former president's properties.
They've already seized them.
People are wondering whether all the other people who might have been adversely mentioned or asked to do so, will suffer the same fate.
So it all
Can you see that happen?
Well, again, it's too early, which is why I don't want to congratulate the government for releasing. To me, releasing the report or any white paper is the absolute minimum. It doesn't matter who said they may not do it, or who may have doubt about it. For them to release this is absolute minimum. It's actually only a first step, as Mr. Dabo said. Okay. The question is now, those people who are implicated. How will the government go, towards recovering the nation's resources, and what sort of consequences will there be? Let's not forget this part. This is very important. One, whether it's TRRC, whether it's the Janneh Commission, at the very end of the day, there has to be consequences for people doing something wrong. This is what ensures that it is, these things are not repeated. Because if the only thing that's if I go and steal something from someone's house, you catch me, and the only punishment I get is returning what I have stolen. What are the consequences? I have not gotten out of that process no worse off than I have been. But if there are consequences for embezzling and doing all of the wrong things the Janneh Commission was tasked with investigating, and there is evidence that can be brought against people for those wrongdoing, there has to be consequences.
Have to be prosecuted, that's what you're asking.
Exactly. So the publication of the thing is a positive first step.
Okay.
Let's actually wait for it to happen. When it,
I still don't believe it will happen.
Well, announcing and it's happening are different things. So let's wait for it to happen, and then let's see what are the subsequent steps the government will do afterwards.
Mustafa?
Our views on our skepticism stems from our experience with the government. Now, this is not with an individual. Here, people just get too sensitive with things. But if you look at the government, is this the government you and I want to create? We've made some progress.
When you said people who are really skeptical as to whether this report will be published, are justified in what you said they've seen in the government. What are those examples that could justify anybody thinking
there are a lot of
things?
We thought that there was going to be a complete break with the past, right? We've just talked about the passport issue. That's not a break with the past.
Okay.
Of course, we have this.
Yeah.
Everybody is allowed to speak your mind. But you've seen all signs that even with that, government doesn't seem to know any, doesn't seem to be able to do anything about it. But if they can, they will control it. You have had ministers made statements that suggests to you that there is the desire to do that, to control even what people say. And they've countered social media claims here. Even Ibrahim Asil, a former journalist himself, has made statements like that before. And in terms of still backdoor deals, you've had major over $1 billion projects here that are being signed, and no one knows anything about it. There are documents, project documents are still guarded with utmost secrecy as if it's some nuclear football.
So there's abundant
it's the same
evidence that, that can justify
people's fear is justified. The same kind of, a government is, you see, when you are a president, you don't need to be, people don't need to necessarily come and kneel down before you. That's Mansa. We're just dealing with a president.
But is he not a Mansa? He's a Mansa.
He's not a Mansa.
Who's the Mansa?
A Mansa is a king. You know, we're just dealing with some guy here who is paid to serve the people. You know? So if there is a mutual respect, and of course you also respect your office. Sidia said something very fundamental in front of Barrow himself. He said to get respect from people, you must have to respect them first. You see? And to respect, how does a government respect the people? First, you have to honor your words to them. That shows respect. If I come to you and promised you X, I do Y, I'm not respecting you. So, I mean, these are a list of things that you do. You know, even if those were things that the government was doing, you think we would have gotten to even 5 years, 3 years. These are all symptoms of despair.
Right, we move on now.
Using youth are being played into politics, and
so we expect, or we commend, or at least Mr. Doctor said.
First good step.
Doctor said it's a good step, but we have to see what happens then. That the Ghana Commission is going to be published, and the white paper will also be published. So we said commendable. Doctor said a good step. You said.
Well, I said a good step.
A good step.
Yeah.
So
we keep our fingers crossed.
Exactly.
Let's move on to an area where Doctor has a great deal of speciality, and that is economics now. The central bank governor said at their recent, how do they call it, monetary
policy committee meeting,
that he talked about the debt portfolio, the
domestic debt,
etc., etc.
Says the economy is doing well.
We, the two of you, really put a lot of premium on accuracies when it comes to those areas. So, can you enlighten us? What is meant by the fact that the economy, how to call it, the foreign reserve, or our reserves at 8-point-something billion, our foreign exchange rate? What is meant by that?
But that's actually Barrow's favorite statement, that the export cover has gone up by four months cover, right?
I'm the governor, not the president.
You have to ask
him 4 months cover.
When he came to power, it was what, 2 months?
He said it was less than 1 month.
Less than 1 month.
And now it's 4 months. Yes. So that's apparently, for him, is the stamp of approval that he must be given 15 years.
There you go. But now we are quoting the governor now, please.
Yeah. No, I mean, the document there, again, these are snapshots in time, obviously. So, you can make too much out of this, but a lot of these numbers can be reversed. We still have about, almost 2 quarters to go. I mean, well, we are in September, so 1 quarter to go, but this report covers until the end of July. So I was just, as I was speaking to Mustafa earlier on, I said, for instance, look at the GDP growth that was quoted here. I believe it's what, 6%?
Yes,
6%, yes. That's impressive. I mean, obviously, for the government economy, you need something far more than that. I mean, to bring a lot of people out of poverty, to create jobs. But still, it's impressive. But don't forget, the 2 things that determine our macroeconomic situation in the Gambia in any given year, more than any other factors, are what? Rainfall and tourist arrivals. Now, part of that tourist arrival has already been realized because the tourist season normally starts the end of the previous year and spills into the beginning of this year. So we have some numbers on that. At least the first part was good. But you still have a few more months of the next tourist season that is going to determine, which is going to determine the final real GDP growth rate of this country. Okay. Number 1. Also, very importantly, is the issue of the rainfall. Okay. We need to know the harvest this year to know exactly what the overall GDP growth rate would be this year.
Okay.
So suppose you have a very bad harvest. All this growth that has been realized
The
to this
projections
Would wipe out.
would be wiped off.
I think the right word is these are growth projections.
What?
Well,
To
it's not
say
tangible.
this is a
It's
growth
not-
forecast that
Are they
Yeah,
not
they-
tangible?
There are some,
already.
there may be some projections, but also some of the things they're talking about is just on the past quarters that have
Quarter.
happened.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a snapshot of what has happened up to date, or probably since their last MPC report. Yes. So you can have a projection, but projections, when we're talking about just few months down the road, really, there isn't, especially when the issues we are talking about, the factors that really, that need to determine our GDP growth rate cannot be predicted.
Okay.
For instance, who could have known that the first 2 weeks, the last week of July and the first 2 weeks of August, rainfall would completely cease.
No
Now,
worry.
the impact of that on the overall GDP or an agricultural output is not known yet. Because certain crops,
Yes.
for them to experience water stress at particular points of their growth can affect their yield.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait until around November and December before we have a clear idea on what the agricultural output is. When we have that, then we can be reasonably certain what the GDP picture will be for the year as a whole. But it's entirely possible that this 6% may stay the same, might improve. It's also entirely possible that it could be reversed if the upcoming tourist season doesn't materialize as projected, if rainfalls behave erratically as they did a few weeks ago.
For me, I think what I want your opinion with the issue of the debt.
Yes.
Like for instance, this year we have a $25 billion in budget, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And a lot of it is predicated on grant. We expect a lot of grant after this donor pledge. We expect a lot of grant to come in.
Okay.
Now, the point is already, by the end of July, we had already taken a domestic debt of about 3.5 billion.
Okay. Isn't it?
By end of July, I think. I think we have taken a lot of debt already. And there are new projects that are being implemented, new loans being signed, like the OIC loan. We are aware the $93 million, half of it is going to be loan, half of it is going to be grant. And we are aware that there is going to be another one signed with Badia, it's in Badia, the Arab whatever, export whatever. And there will be another one signed with, I think, Kuwait, all in support, all geared towards the hosting of the OIC. A lot more perhaps. And also given the fact that there could perhaps be a very huge gap if some of these pledges were not forthcoming, if some of them. I mean, where does that leave us? It could see us take more money from the domestic sources to finance the gap left on the budget. Like we've seen last year, we've seen at the very later end of the year, we've seen an appropriation bill that comes, we were like, wow.
That was quite controversial, yes.
That was quite controversial. We could end up in a year like that.
Sure. Now, the thing with debt is, obviously taking debt can be problematic if you don't have the means of repaying it. But also what's important when you're talking about debt is, a country can take a lot of debt. It depends on what they are doing with it. If it is being invested or put in a situation where there could be huge, economic and social returns. With economy and in such a way that your economy will be growing. If you can ensure that your economy is growing fast, a lot of this debt, especially if they are coming from multilateral or bilateral development partners, they should be manageable. But when you are taking a lot of debt and where you are putting them in, it's not clear you're getting a lot of return, becomes a problem, even if they are concessional. Because a loan you cannot service, or you're still putting a huge percentage of your budget into servicing debt, means anything that you are servicing means less money for other development projects, especially if that initial loan, that initial project you took the loan for is not materializing. So the issue that what needs to be important whenever we're looking at debt is also to look at expenditure. What are we spending the money on? You know,
Well,
also,
they talked about that here too.
well, the breakdown of the expenditure, they talk about the total expenditure.
But a lot already government has told us. A larger chunk of our money goes to current expenditure.
Exactly.
Goes to
That was what I was
goes
going
to salaries.
Exactly.
And debt servicing.
And not only that, if you look at the different sectors and ministries, which of these ministries actually has the biggest recurrent expenditures? Let's take Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now, he was rewarded with what? An ambassadorial position.
Yeah.
The former Minister of Interior, Mbalo, where has he been put into? Consul General in Saudi Arabia, is it? Or Indonesia? I cannot remember. Even the former Vice President, Parma Jallo Tambajang, when she was removed from Vice Presidency, where was she posted to? Foreign Affairs. Of course, he turned it down. Basically, and I've written about this, is when it comes to embassies, this government is just operating, it's just a continuation, a direct continuation, which is, you know, exemplified.
They've added, actually.
They've added,
added.
significantly.
They've
but in
added.
a way,
Yes, they have.
You mean added more?
Yes, more representatives.
Yeah.
They've added.
Basically, you have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that has more recurrent budgets than a lot of key ministries. It's like number 4. You know, so that already tells you, you know, even if we take a loan, you know, money is fungible. The government can say, I'm taking a loan and putting it into something else. But instead of that loan freeing up the government to do something much more important domestically, that money is going into recurrent expenditure. And anything that's going into recurrent expenditure, it means it's not going into development budget. Development expenditures basically are the things when government invests in something, including fiscal investments, things that are going to make more economic activity possible and generate social and economic returns. So you have a ministry like Foreign Affairs that the government thinks if we can't find a place for anyone, we just throw them. You know.
Yeah.
Just to give an idea, Mr. Mbalo, even though his position as consul is lower than a cabinet position, his cost to government as a consul general will be several times more than his cost to the government as a minister. I can tell you that. Because all his family members
will be their education
will be covered 100% by the government. They'll be attending very expensive private schools that will cost nothing less than $20,000 per annum. Residential rent, everything.
Their flight tickets.
Flight tickets. So the individual you remove from a ministerial post and appointed him to a position less than an ambassador would be costing annually the government far more than he was costing when he was minister.
And think about that is why we've been talking about rationalization of the army. But we've never talked about rationalization of our foreign representation.
I've been talking about this for a long time.
Now, how about even, you know, we have a UN and we have US.
Yes. That's a very good point. And Washington, D.C. and New York is 2 hours. No, just give an idea. Not only in America, Washington, D.C. is 2 hours by train from from New York City. But we have an embassy in Washington, D.C.
That's for America.
We have a UN representative.
Yeah.
Why a poor country in the Gambia?
But isn't that not the case for many countries around the world?
But that's the point. We are not many countries. We are a poor country in Africa. We need to know our circumstances.
Poor, incapacitated
so the same staff can represent us.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't have a UN mission every day of the year. Yeah. They are not busy every day. Yeah. The embassy can handle both the role of the embassy and the role of a permanent UN mission. You don't need to have a permanent UN mission based in Manhattan in New York with very high cost of living. You know, the country cannot afford that. We still have embassies in Cuba, in Venezuela, in Russia.
In Mauritania, in Senegal, Mauritania.
Yes. Quite not important in our foreign policies.
Senegal and Mauritania.
No, I'm talking about other things you mentioned.
No, other countries. Nobody is saying we shouldn't have embassies. But they should be rationalized. There should be some method to it. We should have some plan as to where it is needed, where the benefit to the country is more than the cost.
So if you look at the central bank governor's observation that most of the monies again expenditures are actually monies going to these kind of things.
Yes, so we are saying that's the problem. See, if you are getting loan, it doesn't matter if the terms are good or not. Even if you're getting a high interest loan, it's okay if you are investing in a development project with a very high social and economic return. So if we are the reason why a huge amount of debt is a problem for the Gambia is that our budget is not going necessarily into activities that are generating high social and economic returns.
That's right.
That is the problem.
So you're simply saying, if you take a loan, I think in layman terms, if you take a loan and buy a car that will not generate you money, you suffer. Because the car will not generate you money to pay the loan. But you take a loan to do a business that is going to help you generate money to repay that loan, is better.
It's better. And even if that loan is expensive, you know, as long as what you are using the funds for is something that will generate high returns, it's okay. But sometimes when people complain about all the excessive loans they are taking, they immediately point to, oh, it's concessional. Most of it is grant. If it is grant, fine. If it's concessional, it just means, okay, they'll have only 1% interest and the payment period will be like 30 years, 20 years.
It means they give you a
huge repayment. But even that is a problem if you are putting it into something that's going to generate zero returns, or in many cases, negative returns. Because if you are paying for some activity as a government, and that activity is actually employing, entrenching people to do unnecessary things, it means government's resources are being diverted from doing something useful, number one. Human capital.
Somebody just sent Chip in to say the Gambian embassy in Washington is also in charge of Canada. And they said, somebody said, in the meantime, they have no Gambian consulate in Germany where you have thousands of Gambians. So isn't that ironical?
It is. I mean, we've not rationalized.
Why do we have one in Venezuela when we have thousands of Gambians in Germany?
Yeah. So we don't rationalize our foreign affairs. But also, if you look at it, if you look at the issue of the debt, I mean, when this government comes into power, because they said, well, the mantra was we are creating a private sector-led growth. And that was the mantra. And so they said, well, if you take too much loan, if government takes too much loan, because government will always pay, so private banks would say, oh, okay, government will always come for loan. If people like you, an agriculturist goes to the bank, they will tell, no, we can't give it to you because you may default. But government will always pay. And private sectors were complaining at that time. It does look like we may face a similar scenario moving forward.
So that's a very good point, because in the last few years of the Jammeh regime, the interest rate on the government treasury bills went all the way up to 20-something%, right? Why? Because if you are a commercial bank, you are sitting down, you have the option of lending to a businessman or lending to a government. Now, if lending to a government, you just go and buy a bond, sit at your office, wait until maturity and get your money back, plus the interest, high interest.
Barrow himself calls it armchair bank.
Essentially, that's a perfect word for it. Now, if you, on the other hand, you have the option of going to a businessman. If you are a bank, the process, doing a credit appraisal for an individual, especially a bank, is very difficult in a situation like the Gambia. You need to know what their business plan is. You need to know whether they, you may need to know their credit history, but you have no means of doing it because we don't have a well-developed credit reporting system. So there's a huge amount of risk involved. So which means default rate can be very high.
Let's look at what happened. By this time last year, a similar report came out. Let's say some of the things highlighted there, some of the fears.
Actually, this is the last year report.
Last year,
and this is the today report.
What has been done in terms of cutting expenses to improve the thing this year? Have you seen anything? Well, of course, just 2 weeks ago, we had the government's, I don't know whether it's another format of the vehicle policy or something. They said managing director of prestataires who are driving these V8 SUVs should have them packed. Right. Is that an illegitimization of the vehicle policy?
Ahmad Sane told me one time, Ahmad Sane, the former finance minister, told me one time, I was at his office, I insisted we should have an interview. Before the interview, we were sitting and he told me that you see these vehicles, the ones that they use to go and escort VIPs from airport. He told me those vehicles, when you go to the airport with full tank and you come back, you're done. Like those vehicles are so expensive to maintain. He was a minister of finance at the time.
Spare parts alone cost millions.
Yeah, spare parts. It's like we don't think.
So should the rationale be just to park them or to sell them, scrap them and sell them somewhere who can afford them?
Well, they know, but these people bought vehicles. This government, we already have vehicles. It's over bloated. We said we should get rid of vehicles.
Yeah.
But they were buying vehicles. You know how many vehicles Barrow himself bought? He was...
For himself or for governments?
For himself. For the office of the president anyway.
What happened to all Jammeh's vehicles?
But they bought vehicles. You didn't see the 2018 or the 2019. We published it at the standard.
I know, but what is the rationale? The Jammeh's vehicles are here, which we could not sell, or have we sold?
Well, it doesn't matter. They went and bought vehicles at the cost of millions of dollars.
When we could have used Jammeh's vehicles?
I think
the vehicles Jammeh bought.
So your bigger question is expenditure. So you can divert, you can distract people by pointing to some shiny things like vehicles, V8 vehicles that cost a gallon will be consumed in like 8 kilometers.
8 kilometers.
Or 7 kilometers. You can divert people's attention or distract them by claiming government is packing all of that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you look at the numbers overall, you see situations are even worse. Because there are some ways of government to waste money and spend it that are not visible, that are even far, far more important than vehicles.
Than the SUVs.
Yeah. the part about the embassies, most people don't know this.
No, yeah, that's right. That's
a single embassy, a single staff at an embassy, let's say one person posted at an embassy in Abuja with 3 kids can cost the government about $100,000 US a year. How many big SUVs can you buy that in a year? So you put that person there 5 years. How many SUVs can you buy? So those things that are invisible are far more. They are far more impactful for budget than some of these flashy visible things that the government can occasionally announce. At the end of the day, what matters is if there is seriousness about tackling this issue of excessive.
Cutting down the expense.
Not only cutting it down, because it's the country needs expenditures, but it means putting the expenditures in the places where they need to be. Yes, cutting back where they don't need to be, like reducing the expenditures in the military, increasing expenditures in agriculture, in education, in health. That's what's important. It's not just the overall health, but the composition of, the overall level of the expenditures, but the composition of it. That's what matters. Wow. So
that's what makes
this
it
individual announcement here and there, they really are distractions. Before anybody congratulates them, look at the overall figure over the course of the year.
You mean there are far
because
more
why do you even have them there in the first place?
Exactly.
And that's the point, because when we came, in fact, the biggest criticism, what we said about Jammeh was because he was driving flashy cars, he was driving... But where are those flashy cars? They're still a state house.
Yes, and why don't we
But why did we even say it in the first place?
Let me give you an idea.
If they are very expensive to maintain, but at least they are better than buying another expensive one, which is highly expensive to maintain.
And even, well, I don't know for now, but the last time I saw even... organizational directors, including GRTS directors, they are all driving around with V8.
Those ones have been, those are the types that, well, I don't want to name institutions, but I know about nearly half a dozen or more.
Well, these institutions belong to us. If you name them,
they are public institutions, name them.
They are ours.
Well, GRTS was one.
Of course,
amazingly, they have a very fat car. Nobody, people were wondering where it come from. NRA, etc., etc.
All the rest, they all have the same kind of cars.
That are very expensive.
DA was telling me the other time, they give ministers these 2 vehicles. He told them, look, I have my own. I'm going to use my own.
That's right.
That's how you see people reasonable. That's what they do, because when we changed government, we thought there was going to be a revolution, which was going to be...
We haven't still escaped this fiction that we spending all our money to maintain our public officers.
Yeah, but that's what we do. You see, even they themselves would tell you, oh, when we pay salaries, when we pay our debt obligations, we are left with nothing. Of course, you will be left with nothing, because you've not rationalized. Gambia should have gone through a very painful 5 years.
From this report,
people take pain. They don't.
From this report of 2018, by this time last year, there have not been any significant efforts to cut down expenses. So
we are not even look at where expenses are. For instance, when these people came to power, there were a lot of things they were looking into, but three were key in their strategies to cut expenditure. They said they were going to rationalize the army. Until today, no one have any idea what they are doing about that. They said they were going to rationalize foreign service. We don't know until today what they are on with that.
Yeah.
Third, they said they were going to sell off expensive fleet of vehicles, and they are going to make sure government vehicles are right-sized. They were using these words. Whatever
they were using right-sized.
Whatever they mean. Whatever right-sizing mean. And there's, it's a lot of things. These were things we expected, and these are things that were going to be very painful. They even talk about the wage bill. They said it's the wage bill is around 3 billion. We cannot afford it. We're going to right-size the civil service. Yeah. Or when we asked them that question 1 year down the line, they said, "Oh no, but we did ghost workers and we kicked them out of there." But ghost workers are workers that don't exist. Yes. We are talking about sending home workers that still exist.
Now maybe those are the ones they are after. Those names.
No, this whenever you hear a government official saying right size, or right there, that person has compromised their seriousness. Nobody is talking about any
downsizing. Is it right-sizing or downsizing?
Now they don't talk about downsizing. Downsizing is now right-sizing. Even the army, they say it's right-sizing.
Oh, right-sizing.
Yeah.
But it's just another euphemism for downsizing.
That's my problem. If you mean downsizing, what's preventing you from using the word downsizing? Why not just use directly the word that matters? Yeah.
Okay, maybe they're trying to have a pleasant name for just the same thing.
But it speaks to someone's seriousness. Yeah. This sort of thing, if the government is communicating, it needs to communicate in clear words. There is no reason why the issue of downsizing, where it is not needed, there's no reason to beat around the bush. Yeah. Being clear and direct doesn't compromise your ability to work or to implement policy. Just be clear. Part of communicating clearly is actually an essential part of implementing reform. Exactly. People need to know what your goals are and what your activities are.
And they keep complaining. People do take pain when they know that pain gets to something eventually.
Yeah, like the ERP of Sadao.
The ERP
of Sadao in
Sirif said, even though there were a lot of that ERP has critics and he has supporters.
Painful.
But at least in those times,
they knew that
it was not the best thing to do.
Yeah.
People suffered.
Yes.
But the point is, sometimes when you are taking certain economic decisions, people will suffer.
Yes.
But people eventually, after knowing that this suffering is going to lead us to something, they can be here for at least 5 years.
If they are properly communicated.
If they are properly communicated and if they trust the person doing it.
That's the problem.
But you can't be telling me this is...
They saw the example of your lifestyle.
Your lifestyle.
Your commitments to the very ideas that you come out. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, Dr. Ousman Gajigo.
And the killer airs thing we've had.
Yes.
Because
I was going to come there after our break, but then let's just move on and deal with it. But this is, we must be mindful that this matter is still subject.
Well, it's not before the court yet.
It's still a matter of judicial matters. Yes.
Well, it is, but it's not before.
So we can still talk about it.
It's not before the court yet, anyway, because it is, but. Effectively, these people have not even taken a plea, so it's not.
Now, let's go back to the drawing board. It's common now. Killer is the rapper and his 36 people. They first went to a magistrate court, and which now said they have no jurisdiction to try them. But that magistrate court remanded them. It's not the one who remanded them. Now they've gone to the High Court, and High Court is not put it up to October. What people, perhaps laymen who are not very familiar with the law, is that why are they being kept there since nothing has been determined as to what they have done, no hearing, not even the jurisdiction has been established? Why do you think they're still being kept there?
Well,
are they risk of flight or what? Well, tampering with evidence, or why do you think this should be removed?
Well, that's what the police want.
Even though you ask a specific question, it's always it's difficult to avoid linking this to other issues, because I think that this is needed to answer comprehensively.
Yeah.
So we have these 37 people remanded. They've been charged. But if we recall, a few weeks ago, the Attorney General made a big deal about following due process so that these people, the junglers who were detained pre-trial, can be released. Exactly. Because keeping them longer wouldn't be consistent with due process. That
violate their rights.
Yeah. Now these people have been, so far there hasn't been any claim so far as I'm aware. They have been charged. They have been charged with crimes, and their bail has been denied. I understand they'll reapply again when to the High Court, but I can't help thinking how how strange it is that you have confessed murderers walking on the street when people who are charged with arson, far lesser crime, and protesting, are locked up. So after the 7 Gambians who are locked up in prison, sitting there, their rights, their fundamental rights are being deprived. But other people who have actually, confessed to the most heinous crimes, are free at home, or some of them are still holding their position. Right there, this shows that we have our whole justice system in the Gambia completely in haywire. It's just, things are very, very strange. It's difficult for me to compute this right now.
Mustafa, if a magistrate court cannot handle a case, but it can it can remand the accused, how do you interpret that?
So the problem is, I'm not a lawyer, so you approach these things with common sense. And they said law is not stupid. Law is supposed to also be common sense, right?
Yeah. And there's no mystery to law.
No, there is no. Because it's lawyers who will tell us, lawyers and political philosophers who will tell us justice delayed is justice denied, right? That's one thing, all of its own. And also, there is also presumption of innocence until one is proven guilty. That means everyone should be treated with dignity and not with contempt until a competent authority, a competent law says you are guilty.
Yes, evidence.
That's when you become guilty.
Backed, of course,
because the law, the justice minister, the attorney, we may have custodians of the law, but they are not the law.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay? So, for me, I think Ba is the one who should have salvaged this situation.
The Attorney General.
I think he should have be the one to be bold enough. Politicians, the State House will not do anything about this.
Did you see any politics involved? To be frank, what's your analysis?
The truth is, there is fear in this country. Fear about protest. That's what all governments do in this country. Yambe approach protests in this country with fear.
So it's not.
Barrow is doing the same thing in anticipation of 3 years judgment. So I think he's trying to set an example.
So it's not now very much a case of police on a revenge mission, because one of their members whose house has been burnt.
They may be angry with.
So it's not them who are on a revenge mission where they are angry. So
I know.
But you think that the powers that be are concerned that this should be taught a lesson in case they can transmit their disease to all the other people before December.
Because for them, you and I know the police in this country, as powerful as we seem them to be, they are a mere pawn, they are mere cogs in the wheel. They are not the wheel itself. You can remove them in the wheel and throw them away. The wheel will still.
But they claim now they have been given their full authority to work independently. So I don't agree with the fact.
But okay, no, that's what they claim. But the authority,
so
the reality.
We judge them according to what
they say. Yes. No, we judge them according to what we see. What we see and what
we are seeing is not just, as many people say, you were telling me, it couldn't just be that they are angry, they are on a revenge mission. They want to get these people locked up or punished for burning their whatever evidence they had. They did not even bring it forward yet. They might be waiting for the court, but at least something should have come from them or at least they guarantee a speedy trial so that we know as soon as possible these people actually are involved in this supposed crime. So it's not just the police that have been accused of following a revenge mission. But you're telling the politicians themselves are interested in having these youth locked up so that they will not transmit their protest disease to everyone else before December.
Yeah, because the way we treat
By the way, did you see the pro Killer AIDS and the 36 banner at the stadium yesterday.
I did.
You did?
We can actually, so I think this part is important. Let's go back a bit, because I think this issue is more than just the crime they are charged with. It's more than that. I think there's a lot of truth to the fact that, to this situation that this government trying to set an example for this. For instance, the issue that brought them out into the street, the alleged beating of a shopkeeper.
Yeah.
What was the investigation into that?
It's not been concluded yet.
But they were able to move so fast to arrest all of these people. And so far, do we have any officers already who are actually placed on leave?
No.
So do we have the station officer where the police station where he was held, where this alleged crime occurred? Have we seen the result of any investigation, any outcome into? Have you seen any evidence that the police are actively looking into that? No. So that to me is problematic. And the other thing I found important is today we visited Killer East in prison.
Yourself?
I went and visited him. I wanted to see for myself the conditions there. And I was actually, I was very shocked by what I went through. Yes, I went with Mr. Dabo. We first of some of the provisions, basic provisions.
You went with Mustafa?
Yes.
Yeah, we were at mile 2 today.
Exactly.
Right. So you guys go sneaking everywhere, putting your nose everywhere.
We want to make so. Some of these things, it's good to see things for yourself. And some of the things that I witnessed was very troubling. For instance, we brought some supplies because our prison mile 2 is essentially located in the swamp, so mosquitoes are a problem. So we wanted to bring something like insect repellent, but these were not allowed in.
Wow.
Yes, because apparently
do they have their own?
No, they don't, and they have some very strange policy. And when we asked for justification for it, they said we only have to return during weekdays because during weekends their senior officers are not there. So if anything were to happen, apparently these people don't have procedures and policies in place for the officers present to do anything during the weekend.
So if somebody gets sick, they still have to wait for the senior officers?
Well, this was very shocking to me because there shouldn't be a day off at the prison, whether it's a weekend, whether it's a weekday. The system should be operating irrespective of what day, whether it's a holiday or not. In fact, they told us we cannot come on Monday because Monday is a public holiday.
Wow.
Senior officers would be available on Tuesday. The other thing I wanted to stress was when we went inside, initially we were told that we could visit him, we could see him for 30 minutes. When we entered, as we approached the visitors area, we were told we could see him only for 5 minutes. When we sat down and introduced ourselves, he asked us what we do. When I introduced myself and Mustafa introduced himself, immediately the prison officers came and said, because Mustafa is a journalist, the visit is over. The visit will not be allowed.
Why didn't you declare the kid that you are a journalist?
No, but let's make this...
No, probably they will make clarity.
No, let me make this clear. It's not really a joking matter.
And what explanation did they give?
No, let me give you...
We gave nothing.
He declared that he is a journalist by training.
At the gate, or when you?
No, when we entered.
No, when we walked in.
Yes.
That's my job.
When we were entered, they asked us. We said we are visitors. They didn't ask us. They didn't ask us any question where we are from, what our jobs were. So when we entered to sit down, as a way of introducing ourselves, I told him what I do. I'm a private citizen. I have my private business and I do activism, and that this guy is a journalist by training. He didn't do any talking. He basically wasn't doing any interviewing, anything related to his job. So we went there, and basically the prison officers, in a very, very unprofessional way, and at the time when we were talking, the prison officers were taunting the prisoners, including 2 officers who were their very young officers. We asked them for their names and identification, but they did not. But there were officers there who tried to break our meeting, who didn't even allow us the 3 minutes. Initially it was 30 minutes.
30?
No, 30 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and then the moment we introduced ourselves, they said it's over. They won't allow it to happen. And the officers that were there were actually acting very professionally. As they were breaking up the meeting, they were taunting the prisoners, basically showing them that they can do whatever they want. And basically they control this guy's life. Essentially what
they were actually threatening Killer.
Yeah, they were threatening
because they were telling him, that, I mean, you look, because Killer wanted to intervene. I mean, they came to see me.
Yes. And
So he wanted to intervene and they were sort of threatening him.
Yeah, so
you
basically
cannot do it.
They were threatening him with
And he
punishment.
told us,
and basically they were telling him that, he's actually been punished, moving to bad conditions for no reason, just being, being a popular, being kind of a popular prisoner at the very moment. So the issue I want to highlight actually is, this should be shocking to everyone that this is something we should be expecting, or we should have expected from the previous regime. But in this current regime, things would have changed in such a way that prisoners in remand, not even security prisoners who have been convicted, these people may actually be cleared by the court. They may be declared innocent. Having them through the system, depriving them of basic necessities, taunting them as prison officers who are there, acting completely unprofessional to visitors, displaying complete impunity there, just one moment allowing someone to visit, another moment telling them they cannot visit for no reason. Maybe you didn't identify yourself as journalists, and maybe they have a different set of rules for journalists. Because I remember, well, that of course was during the dictatorship. I tried to go there, and the first thing they told me, well, others I went with were allowed to go in, but they kept me waiting and they kept calling people up. And they would say, wait. When I knew this would take perhaps a call to State House, and I said, well, let me just go. Maybe they had a different set of rules for journalists. We can speculate all sorts of things. The question, what we don't need to speculate on is what's the proper thing to do. Right now, there's no point speculating about all sorts of things. Maybe this, maybe that. The question is this something that is reasonable? And it is something. Why yes. Is it, even if he's a journalist, if you are not there in that capacity, don't journalists have relatives who are in prison? Absolutely. Shouldn't journalists be able to? My argument exactly. So he wasn't there in his capacity as a journalist. He wasn't interviewing. He didn't bring a notebook inside the prison. He wasn't taking any pictures. In fact, they took my notebook from me. The notebooks, pens. They took my pen from me. Everything were taken. Well, that's when you declared you are a journalist. No. Before? Way before. Okay. Because I have a small notepad in my back pocket. They took that. That's the general behavior they have. No, but we have no problem with the rules. Yeah. We told them we are happy with the rules. Yes. Rules are rules. The problem is, why would you in fact deprive prisoners of the right to visit, prisoners in remand? At the same time, security officers acting with impunity, taunting those officers. Threatening them in terms of the freedoms and the restrictions they can impose on them, just because they are trying to express a willingness to meet a visitor who came to see them. Because we brought some supplies to them, and we couldn't even, in fact, deposit the insect repellents. And they said they wouldn't allow that. No, they won't, and we don't understand why. Okay, let's not deviate from the issue as to why do you think why is it justifiable they are still there? Because when the court, like I said, the magistrate court said they cannot handle them because of jurisdiction, but that court can still impose a remand for them. That's the irony. That's the irony. That's the contradiction I cannot. No. The point is, the magistrate, the police knew that such kind of capital offenses as arson, which can get you up to life. Yes, in just prison, like manslaughter, cannot be brought before a magistrate court, a lower court. Yet they took it there. They took it there because the police. It will give them a legal. Okay, loophole. On their own side, there are two things here. One, they have no choice because you cannot keep them in detention beyond 72 hours. Beyond 72 hours, it will violate their constitutional right. Yes. Second, to keep them in prison, you would need the court to remand them. Yes. You understand? Yes. Now, but what right activists and all activists alike are saying, this very idea may be legal, but it's appetite similar situation. It's a law, but it is terrible. But which court gave them the remand, right to remand? It's magistrate court, the lower court. Yeah, the lower court. But you cannot blame the lower court. If you bring a case before me, the lower court's argument is simple. They bring a case to us, we cannot adjudicate this, we take it to where I can adjudicate it. That's the high court. Yes. That's the one phase of it. Second phase, they bring a bail before us. Bail offenses like murder, arson are not bailable under the Gambian constitution according to the court, so we cannot grant them bail. What do we do in that circumstance? We remand them.
Come on.
So this you blame? No. I mean, I also am trying to be.
Come on.
It defies common sense. I know that.
That's what it is.
I know it defies common sense,
Just-
but
just-
it does not divide it. It's not. The law is there.
But basically, it tells you also, I mean, the lack of any progress in any judicial reform in the country. Just to give an idea, these people are lucky so far that they have only been in remand for how long? We're talking about
they're now going to be there for well over a month.
Yeah.
for about a month. But do you know there are people?
Total period of a month.
But do you know there are people years in Malta
Yes, that's
currently
what- yeah.
who are
Years
in
on
remand?
remand, yes.
There are people in remand for over 5 years currently as we speak.
Okay.
Right now,
I thought with the changes they
No.
released them.
As we speak right now, there are people on remand for years who haven't been. I spoke to a lawyer recently who has a client in remand for years. So we have a serious problem. So it goes beyond this. Obviously, these people's case is serious, but there's a larger issue of lack of no judicial reforms, which is parallel to the issue of lack of security reforms.
Okay. Right. So to sum it up, killer aides in the 36 others are not just mere detainees. They're becoming now political matter. They're not becoming political prisoners, virtually.
They've
some
been
point,
all along. And that's the sad thing about this
This is not a criminal case. To think of it as a criminal
Well,
case.
they said the police believe it's criminal.
No. Just because the
Well,
police says
that's
something-
what the law will look at it.
Yes.
But every other person thinks
It's a
these
political.
people, all that they did
Yeah.
was to go
protest.
out and protest. And let me tell you.
But who?
No. Let me tell you. Cham, I was there. You can ask. I mean, Fatu Ture knew I was there. We were at that place as early as 9 to 10.
Yes.
When that protest was just starting. We were there.
Yeah.
And this whole mess they are talking about never started until 4. The police never did anything. No authority did anything. They waited how many hours from 9 a.m., 9 to 10, up to 4? How many hours?
8 or 9.
How many hours?
That's about it.
That's about it. You couldn't have anybody intervene to diffuse this tension. And these people were asking one question. What happened to Ousman Gajigo? All that they needed at that time was an assurance, an official to work there. But here, if you are a minister or you are a director,
you don't want to identify.
You are something else.
You don't want to be identified.
You are like a god who cannot go to the ordinary people and talk to them civilizedly. That's what a minister or a director is.
No, I wouldn't go to this place in case
I cannot go and talk to a market vendor.
Small boys. That's
as if market vendor is not a human being. Because these people, they were at this kind of, I could show you pictures. These people were at the police station. The police station was full to capacity and they were talking back and forth, talking back and forth. Nobody was there. They were just, and the police high command, the IGP included was aware. Why? There is evidence on their Facebook page that they wrote that they are aware some people are heading to Godjimboob's house. They put that on Facebook.
They were aware?
Yes.
They didn't go to put security there?
They were aware. They put it on Facebook. You can go to their Facebook page.
They said they are aware?
The police, yes.
Yet they failed to prevent it.
You said they are aware. In fact, while this whole mess was just beginning, the police could have intervened and sit down the youth and tell them, look, we know this is a problem. We are equally concerned. Someone died. And there is an allegation that this person was tortured. It's the responsibility of the state to protect every individual in this country. Failure to do that is an aberration of responsibility.
So failures on the side of the police and higher authorities to intervene in the case.
That is what he's referring to. That is what precipitated this whole mess.
Just
so
like
it's their responsibility.
So we didn't learn from Faragha then. No, we did. All right. Now, of course, we can go on and go on and go on, and I will keep...
I published this story as early as that time. If you go to my story and look at the timeline, you realize that
you mean if there was enough time and
there was enough time to avoid this.
To act, and they didn't act.
Not even that very day, which means immediately this incident have occurred, the alleged torture, and before this guy even passed away. Investigation, if the youth or the country has been informed that the police have taken this allegation seriously and they are investigating, that thing would have been there wouldn't have been a need for those people to converge in the first place if they had been confident that the police would have done something about it.
Okay. Well, Dr. Ousman Gajigo, thank you very much for once again sharing your thoughts and opinions on the major stories of the week. We covered the passport scandal, the diplomatic passport scandal, the killer aid sting, and the Commission of Inquiries. Now we will turn our attention to sports, because yesterday the Scorpions lost to Angola in the preliminary tie between them. First leg was in Banjul, the second leg will be on the 10th September in Angola. Both teams are trying to find a place in the group stages of the World Cup qualifier. So we have to knock out Angola, then before we can find ourselves, among others, in a group that will compete for place in Qatar 2022. The journey haven't started well for us because yesterday we were beaten. We will have one of the coaches of the Gambia Football Federation to talk about that, as well as our preparations for the West Africa Football Union tournament in Senegal. We will do that after, of course, looking at our entrepreneur of the week, or that will come later. So we have a short break now, a commercial break, and then we will go with the sports.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Busubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan, or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
ñoo ñëw ak yéen rek skincare plus nara jàkkaarloo ak yéen waxtaan ak yéen tuuti rek si suñu tube suñu baax emuñ rek ci ay diw waaye comme ni ngeen ko xamee rek dañoo yëngu ci ay tube te yënguwuñ nag si just any tube suñ tube bu nekk 5-star Jesna la 5-star Jesna mooy Jesna bi gën a pire moom la ñoo tube palmaan bi gën a fort moom la ñoo liggéeyee buñ demee Bamako ñun duñ dem ci marché bi rek buub indi déedéet dañ leen a jox suñu specs ne lañ nii lañ ko buggee nane lañ ko buggee fóot bi nangami fóot lañ bugga pour mu mun a set waaw cuubi skincare déedéet doo ko sol mu di la taxa all over the place ci gàttal ñun rek si cuub dara du doy day des not only dañoo cuub but bu la neexee ñu cuubal la ba pare nag ñawal la ñaw fi mu gën a setee nag rek la ñoo fëlee ñetti ñawkat lañ am nañ ñawkati simple nga xam ne xoppati rek mbaa def sa taille basse def sa dagit def sa roba amul benn dawme am nañ koo xam ne moo ñoo dawme jigéen den am nañ tamit special ñawkat boo xam ne ñawi góor rek la ñoo defal nga bugg sa his and hers muy korité muy tobaski mbaa muy ngénte muy takka mbaa nga bugg rek def sa yëkka bu baax a baax daagul ba ñëw skincare plus ñu dimbali la tànnal la cuub fam gën a baaxee ndax sa yëkka gën a foor lii nga ne lan xoolal bi takka la skincare fii la fu léegi yéen tey we're not all about skin, we are skin care and the plus does come in so many different ways. Cubantu wuñ de dañ cub bam saf-saf.
Welcome back to the brunch on Kerfat. We're shifting gears now to sports. Later this month, the Gambia will be part of West Africa, and all will converge in Senegal to play the African Nations Cup for WAFU, that is the West African Football Union. The tournament will be in 2 sets. The first 8 will play the cup, and the other 8 will play the plate. But before you can get to the cup, you have to knock out your opponent. All 16 are paired, and the successful opponents will go and play the cup in 2 groups of 4 each. So the Gambia is aspiring to play the cup, and Gambia is tied against Ghana. So we have to knock out Ghana before we can get to be among the 8 that will play the Elite Cup.
The big Ghana team?
Yeah. Well, West Africa said we can take our best. The organizers said we can take our best. But then, of course, some countries, including ours, will take under 23 and stuff like that. So we don't know how big the Ghana team will be. But Ghana is already a strong side when it comes to youth football. The Gambia will be taking the under 23 and the other team, let's call Chan, together. And the man who's going to take us there is Omar Casey. So welcome, Omar. Coach.
Thank you very much, Champ.
Before we go to the preparations, you must also be having a heavy heart because you are part of the technical team, coaching staff of the GFF. And yesterday, we had a disappointment, slender 1-0 defeat to Angola in the Cup of Nations. Just briefly, before we go to the West Africa one, how do you feel?
Well, to you as a journalist and the fans, it's a disappointment. I will say as well it is, but the boys have tried their best.
What?
They were unfortunate. Every coach have your own style of putting up your team.
Yeah.
So it's what gives you results. It's not all the time it gives you results that you want, but sometimes. It wasn't a bad game, and the caliber of players that were presented were not bad. I think it's a 2-leg game, 1-0 down here. The coach knows his problems, and hopefully he can correct himself and do better in Angola.
Part of that problem, people said, was the team was more of a defensive team in the first half particularly. And if you are playing home and you actually want a goal, it's better to go on an adventure, to go on the attack and stay attacking the opponents to look for a goal rather than defending as if you have already won something that you are defending. What do you take those criticisms or observations?
Like I told you, every coach has their own way of presenting their team and approaching the game that is ahead of him. Probably for him is the best way to approach the opponent. Another coach will see it a different
way.
Yeah, as the public have seen it. If I were him and if he would take an advice from me, I would have played a defensive midfielder single with 2 creative offensive midfielders. Because as you can see, the 3 lineup we got in up front are they are not enough. They are too much for any defense in the world. They are very good. Hassan, Musa, and Lamin Jallo. They are very quick.
So why were we able to score? What happened yesterday in your
what happened is like we talk about the defensive strategy that the coach has implemented has cost them because there was nobody who can get the ball to them as they want. So it makes a little bit sort of a drought for them to get the ball to utilize. As you can see, Hassan will float himself to deeper, but who is there when he get the ball? That's the question. You know. It was a little bit better when things were changed in the second half, but then it also depends who are you playing and how much they respect, even they got a single goal or even they even have to go for a draw away, you know.
So now, if we have to go to, we're going to Angola. The boys have already left, I guess last night.
This morning, early morning.
What should be then our game approach, according to you, if we are going to cancel this goal and even go ahead to win, and because we need to win them by 1-0 or 2-1, etc. In any kind of victory, we must be ahead. Is that possible now? That a team that scored us here, beat us here, would allow themselves to beat in their home front, in their home yard?
It can be. It's football. It's football. Definitely, the boys he have, they are very good players over there. So it depends on the coach to learn from his mistake and put up a good plan for on Tuesday. It's not only putting up a good plan because we have lost our advantage here at home, the crowd and the home. Now, it is also not very easy to select everybody because I just learned from that mistake in my last game against Senegal. Some players can be very good at the training. When the public, in front of the public, they cannot. So I think if I were him, I have nothing to lose. I already lose at home. So losing away wouldn't be so much to me. I will go all out and then fight. If I'm lucky, I'm there. If I'm not, but he has to. That defensive strategy that has been played here
has to change.
Definitely cannot be accepted. You know, it's not helping us.
And there are a lot of criticisms against not just him, but the technical department.
Well,
I know he's, as the head coach, responsible for all decisions, but you guys in the technical staff must take some heat.
Unfortunately, I am busy with my team.
I
have never attended a single minute of their training or anything. As well, I don't like criticizing my fellow coaches. I would rather go to you in a closed door to tell you a mistake. Our job comes with criticism. People always criticize us. That is normal. I think his response to the media yesterday should not be. He should just focus.
I was coming there, but
he should just focus on how he is going to prepare himself.
He told the journalists who told him. Of course, you can also question the line of questioning. Somebody told him, "Are you the right man for the job?" And his response was, "I know some of you have an agenda." So there's a lot of hula baloo now in media. Dr. Gajigo, should he have replied like
with that? Actually,
they were not happy with that.
A lot of them, because myself, I'm not very
but
interested in sports.
I'm not supporting him for against the media. But sometimes
you yourself had an outburst in Ghana.
No, that was
refereeing. So
no, but my game against Morocco when we beat Morocco 1-0 here. I was attacked by some journalists.
Well, you were a coach. You yourself have lessons as a coach how to deal with the media.
Yeah, mine in Ghana, my anger was not on media. My anger was on the referee.
Of course, you are also facing the media.
Yeah, I was facing the media, but I didn't say anything towards the media.
No.
I only saw my disappointments in the African football, how referees can behave negatively. But with media, sometimes it happens to me. Instead of welcoming me to the conference, they went straight point. They want to know what I'm going to do in Morocco. So I get upset, you know. But we later work it out. It's difficult to play away, champ, especially if you are an underdog. It's quite difficult. So really, yesterday would have been
our best
chance for us.
If we are losing home, how serious can we be? You know, if we are losing home matches.
They tried. They drew Algeria, a big team in Algeria.
At home,
they beat Morocco, although it's a test match, Guinea. So recently they've done well away. Like I say, it's all about forgetting everything behind here, putting themselves together, and then work very hard. It won't be easy, but it's football. Anything is possible.
Let's now go. It's less than 3 weeks now. Actually, 2.5 or so. You will be going to Dakar with our national team to play in the West African Football Union. How your preparations now, with only a little over 2 weeks to go, must be very near in completion. Do you now have a final list? And how talented do you think are your picks now for this job?
You know, in the preparation in football, it's difficult. You can select, but your ears, your eyes, you are always distant because an injury can happen, somebody can be sick. Almost every day we lose a player due to injury or somebody is sick or something else. But definitely we're doing very well. We've learned a great lesson against Senegal because
that friendly you lost.
We've totally changed the team to try to give opportunity to the new ones that has never wear the national color. 4 of the players, the 2 center backs and the 2 young midfielders, they were one of the best domestically, but in that particular game, they couldn't perform. So we were punished in the first 25 minutes, and then, but you can see when we respond and make changes, how the game was stable. And we were unfortunate our goals were ruled out as offside, because we also scored 2 goals. We expecting to go there on the 14th of this month for a return leg.
Will you come back or will you just stay there and wait for the
We'll back probably after 9 days or so. We will go.
Okay. Now, don't you think you will be tempted to use more foreign-based players? If you are
it's difficult with foreign-based players. Not engagement, but you know, it's not a FIFA date. It's not this. WAFO is not in FIFA calendar.
Yeah.
So the rule for clubs to release their players is only if you have a good relationship with the team and they are ready to export their player in such a tournament. But if not, if a player is well needed by his team, they will not.
But how to go? The COSAFA, when they are organizing that, they actually they get their big weeks. They from top European leagues.
Well, I think I heard something from Jambe Bojang that they are trying to squeeze the WAFO into CAF calendar.
At least.
But this cannot be immediate. It needs a little bit of time before they do.
So you may not have the luxury of using these, foreign-based players.
We're still trying. I have hope. One of the players that everybody was talking about that should come, that is Bunsani.
Yes.
He plays his football in Generation Foot. We will be fortunate to have him because then the Senegalese league will not start and the tournament will be played in Senegal as well. There are other players that we are talking with their clubs, likes of Ousmane Maron. He plays for Red Star Belgrade. We might get him. The present captain played the Senegal test game. He returned to his club late. The club is not happy for his long stay, but we're still hoping that we will get him. Not 100%. But definitely the ones we have at home here, Cham, I don't want to talk before anything, but the last time I was here and now, I'm more comfortable with the boys than when I was here last time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you will go into Dakar on the 14th of this month and come back. When will you be a departure for Dakar?
On the 14th, it's not yet confirmed because Senegalese proposed the 7th, which is today. So it collided with the national team game yesterday. So our guys asked them if it can be the following week, the 14th. So we are waiting for their response. But we will go there for only 3 days, come back, and then we will do our final preparation here. The law of the tournament is you have to be there 3 days before. So that means we expect them to leave here on the 25th.
Yes. That's why I was asking whether if you go on the 14th you will ever come back or you just stay there. But then that would have met you not completely.
Well, I wish there is sufficient funds that we can maintain us because it's only 9-10 days. It's possible, but it's not very easy with the FA. They even struggle to organize this game.
I understand. So you're still confident that you're going to play the cup and not the plate, because Gambians want you to qualify us to the cup proper.
Well, I know one thing for sure is Ghana is not going to beat me twice.
And they beat you before?
Yeah, we lost to them.
And this is one-off match? Or is it going to be 2 legs? Just one-off?
No, it's one-off. It's one-off. It's just like the previous one. The difference is the first one, when you are beaten, you come home. This one, you stay and play the plate.
That's what you at least will stay there.
Yeah.
To play either.
I don't want to talk about it, but when anyone lost the first game, the first 8 will contest in the cup, and the last 8, the losing 8 will go with the plate. So that is a knockout form. Okay. You win as you go. You go as you win to the final.
Yes, so I will get 1 or 2 words about football. I know you've not been following Gajigo.
Just wishing them the best of luck, and hope the tournament goes well. Yeah. So you'll have definitely our support. Yeah.
Mustafa,
I'm not so good at watching football, except that I.
No, but you watch European football a lot.
Yes, that's Real Madrid. So I'm very biased when it comes to football. I only watch one team. When Real is playing against you, I have the opportunity to see your team. I only watch.
You don't watch anything.
Nothing else. But I watch national team. When they play, I watch. I like even the yesterday game I watched. Yeah. So of course I will not fight for it, but I do watch.
Right. So coach,
yes.
Finally, where is the prospect for Gambian football in both the World Cup? Rather, okay, let's say in all the World Cup, the Nations Cup that's coming, as well as WAFO.
Well, for the World Cup, I will say we still have 85%. For me, I don't rule out that they can get a positive results.
Even after being beaten home, you think when they go play Rwanda on Tuesday, they will beat the Angolans at home?
You know, you can lose a game. I think Pafai did it here with the under-17s. Yeah. It is possible. You can be a goal down and come back and fight and win. Possible. You know. So for the Cup of Nations, for sure,
we're gonna have Djibouti again in a similar fashion, preliminaries. You know Djibouti, but not their football.
Yeah. So I hope for the Cup of Nations we will go to the group stage.
We'll go to the group stage.
Yeah, I hope. So for the WAFO, I can tell you, believe me. You cannot pass what God said. It's not going to. But for me, you know me very well. When it comes to work, I don't joke. And with my players, I definitely want to bring something for the Gambians that no one has ever done. So I pray to God that can guide me and my players and everybody. But we are not going to Senegal just to open our eyes. We are going there to fight. And it will start with Ghana. We are ready for that.
Fantastic. Well, what a better note now to wrap up this program. Yes. You have our best wishes, coach, and of course the national team coach too has our best wishes in Luanda on Tuesday. Okay, on behalf of Ousman Gajigo, our special panelist here, Mustafa Dabo of Kerfatu, who always want to remind people that he's the vice president of the GPU, and Coach Omar K. for sharing your thoughts and your preparations. And Sally and Charlie, who are in the studio in the background, helping us to have this program on your way. I'm Lamin Cham. Until we come back your way, goodbye.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Busubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
No, ini bara. Alright, okay. Big bara. Welcome. Basically, lot of lala me along is cool, man. That I can really relax. What the madam? Yeah, what the madam? Yeah. Let them do somebody. That's fine. Grand Villa. Grand Villa. That's fine. Slowly. Yes. No. Yeah, actually, a lot of people are basically me along to relax. So it's okay, so that I can understand. Nila fa ni sewa. Nidia nena Grand Villa is the best guest house in the Gambia.
Beji andikam Grand Villa Guest House. Na labungol bebe senyaring adum na bungol bebe nyarandiring coming ibe la fila ila suwe taranyame. Ntel Grand Villa na kiliano la lafino wale mukanwatin telkam. Na ye sabati Grand Villa yela kodo na fa kalamuta.
Oh man, this is like a paradise. I know. I so much love this place. Thank you. Trust me, I love this place.
You can move someone and you're watching what? How can jang and know to Gambia Grand Villa.
I tell you. I love this place. Okay. I love this place, man. Oh yeah.
Ni lefta na kuo keso sotola. Futama Oljuntum Paradise Estate. Mbaya kumandiroke 7527-218. Wale futana website auto www.grandvillaguesthouse.com. Grand Villa Guest House.
Diwli lanni maro lanni
Fop lanni.
awa joni mi anda honno gerdeten e ngal ɗo sabu e ngal ɗo Ibrahima jonnal taw joni mi anda se yahay kapitiki ñawloɗen ha humpodire makko est ce que noon e warude
Waɗen no awa.
ane ko de Ibrahima ma ko to woni
mo Amérique
ko Amérique a woni kede humpitaki fiɓe musidɓe men baluwo
baluwo
ɓe andanɗa kala ko wawɗa wonde e aduna o si a rewi e juuɗe maɓɓe a jonnay ɗo dépassement o Gambia hara no weeɓi a yahata kadi taw ko mbuɗi ɗi no ƴawi walla no jippi ɓe haalantama ko kala ko falɗa ko rewi sengo ñamete ili nebba maaro basalle pomme de terre kala ko rewi ɗon a hendoto hara no weeɓi kadi wona ɗum ɗon tu ɓe jonnira e mobile phone siko ɗum kadi laptop kala ko wayrode ɗi hay kasbawa ɓe wawma jonnude kadi sa fala humpitade ko weeɓi ƴettu Google account ma joni data ton waɗa download app maɓɓe on ayi kala ko humpima e maɓɓe ton ɓe weeɓi yama
ka wonɗa wo e aduna on
kala ko wawɗa
a jonnanayi wonɗo ka leydi men Gambia ɗo dépense
hara no weeɓi hama si ɗum non fof no neeɓi immoɗen joni mi ɗowtama ka place maɓɓe jano
waɗen joni
iya heɓa ko falata
waɗen kisam
noo lañ def ñoo ñëw ak yéen rek skincare plus nara jàkkaarloo ak yéen waxtaan ak yéen tuuti rek si suñu tube suñu baax emuñ rek ci ay diw waaye comme ni ngeen ko xamee rek dañoo yëngu ci ay tube te yënguwuñ nag si just any tube suñ tube bu nekk 5 star jesna la 5 star jesna mooy jesna bi gën a pire moom la ñoo tube palmaan bi gën a fort moom la ñoo liggéeyee buñ demee Bamako ñun duñ dem ci marché bi rek buub indi déedéet dañ leen a jox suñu specs ne lañ nii lañ ko buggee nay lañ ko buggee fóot bi nangami fóot lañ bugga pour mu mun a set waaw cuubi skincare déedéet doo ko sol mu di la taxa all over the place ci gàttal ñun rek si cuub dara du doy day des not only dañoo cuub but bu la neexee ñu cuubal la ba pare nag ñawal la ñaw fi mu gën a setee nag rek la ñoo fulee ñetti ñawkat lañ am nañ ñawkati simple nga xam ne xoppati rek mbaa def sa taille basse def sa dagit def sa roba amul benn dawme am nañ koo xam ne moo ñoo dawme jigéen den am nañ tamit special ñawkat boo xam ne ñawi góor rek la ñoo defal nga bugg sa his and hers muy korité muy tobaski mbaa muy ngénte muy takka mbaa nga bugg rek def sa yëkka bu baax a baax daagul ba ñëw Skin Care Plus ñu dimbali la tànnal la cub fam gën a baaxee ndax sa yëkka gën a foor lii nga ne lan xoolal bi takka la Skin Care fii la fu léegi yéen tey we're not all about skin we are skin care and the plus does come in so many different ways. Cubantu wuñ de dañ cub bam saf-saf
Sampai